December is coming, and the question of the day is, will the Bitcoin BULAs be pushing it to massively new, explosive, all-time highs? And as always, when we come into the beginning of a new month, we want to be looking at the higher term timeframes. So this is going to be a top-down analysis starting off with the monthly. But before we get to that, because it is the end of November, it is also, of course, Black Friday, which means that we have a Black Friday sale going on until Monday of next week is when it will end. All of the programs and services in the Teachable School in the link in the description below are 20% off with the code BLACK. Again, that's BLACK in all capitals. And actually not only that, but the Quant Prime service is going to award you 25% off of the lifetime of your subscription, whether that's a monthly or an annual or even a lifetime. I mean, lifetime, you just get it for lifetime, right? But of course, I'm heavily biased here. The Quant Prime service is, in my opinion, the most important one, at least to my life, because it's actually changed my life. It has massively expedited the process of creation, testing, and of course, just like automating your trades. I mean, it just saves a shit ton of time for myself. But yeah, that's enough shilling for today. Let's actually get into the content of the day now, and starting off with a monthly look at the month of December, if that's not redundant enough. What I've gone through here is I've gone through all of the prior December closures and measured from open to closure, one, whether it was a positive closing month, and two, what the average returns and the median returns for those months were. So here's the data, here's the work, and you can see that December was actually, it's not like a massively bullish month. 8 out of 14 Decembers have been closing positively, so just over 50% strike rate for it to be, a positive closure. Now, we will come at this from a different angle a little bit later that I think provides some insight into this information that might be biasing me towards one specific way. But looking at the average returns and the average losses, we can see that the average loss return was an average loss about 15%. The average win return was about 31.5%. Median returns actually very, very close to those. In fact, the median win return was a little bit higher than the average win return, which typically doesn't happen. But just taking these numbers at face value, again, doesn't necessarily have to be exactly like this, but just giving us an idea of what's kind of possible here in December. Let's see what Bitcoin would be looking like if it gained another 30% kind of from where it's at right now, which, I think Bitcoin probably does finish out the month of November somewhere around here. And that would put Bitcoin, around 125, 126,000 bucks, which is a number that, again, will very likely come up sometime later in this video. Now, if Bitcoin were to shave off 15%, where would that put Bitcoin? About 82,000 bucks. So I suppose that's possible as well. Even if Bitcoin did come down to 82,000 bucks, I don't think it really does anything else. I do think the people who are waiting for 77,000 bucks or whatever the fucking gap fill or new fucking meme is, I don't think that gets filled. In fact, I made a Twitter post about this yesterday. I see all the time people waiting to buy the retest of the all-time high breakout. Bitcoin has actually never retested the prior all-time high soon after a macro breakout. By the way, yes, it retests it maybe like a year later when the cycle ends in one case, but other than that, it does not. And that really is verified by just the intuitive trading knowledge of, or it should be intuitive. Look, strong breakouts, which are macro breakouts by definition, don't retest, and breakdowns as well, by the way. So yeah, it's like waiting for the retest is redacted. That's the new meme. Anyways, so what I want to take this one step further, however, because we had a very special year this year where September closed green, and that doesn't happen very often for Bitcoin. It's actually only happened 6 prior times in its history. And whenever September is closed green, the fourth quarter has gone on to post some pretty massive gains. So what I've done here is I've measured all of the times when we've seen a green September, and then recorded the average returns and the median return for the fourth quarter, which have always closed massively up. Actually, there's never been a losing fourth quarter after that. Let me just add these right here. Boom and boom. So you can see that there are a couple major outliers just right off the bat. 2013 and 2010 in a very minimal data set already were over 400% returns. Now the average, including those, is about 170, and the median win return is about 70. So interesting, I suppose. But if we were to get rid of these, of these outliers, that number goes down significantly to about 51.5% and 58% respectively. But of course, it is a pretty limited data set. So, I would say I mean, maybe it actually is better to include them, but I just wanted to show that as well. Obviously, 170% gain from the open of October would put Bitcoin where? Just curious. That'd put Bitcoin $170,000, you know, close to that 160,000. That's popped up a few times for us as well. I think that's a little bit less likely, but hey, I guess in the cards. And then, of course, the median was about 70% when including all of that data, and that put Bitcoin at a more modest 107 to 108,000 bucks, which again is another major number that's been popping up for us many times. So I'm more inclined to be looking at that. But yeah, moving on from there, I did want to also reference, well, I maybe just a quick reminder from yesterday's video. I'll do maybe a more detailed video on this later, but Bitcoin December lows, especially for halving or election years, have been coming in very early on within the month. So again, you know, Bitcoin probably puts in the low somewhere around the first week of the month of December, and then up again. Again, another sort of thing that suggests to me that, hey, I don't think that, I mean, Bitcoin playing out a major retracement from here, I do think it's still unlikely. You know, it can very easily come back down to like that $91,000 or $90,000 low, you know, take out a bunch of stops, but ultimately it doesn't really do anything for me. Anyways, keeping the focus on the higher term timeframes here, and let me get my notes back up as well. Yeah. So a couple things. Now we do have the monthly closure coming in for CME tonight, and at the present moment, it looks like this on the monthly HPDR. Bitcoin is well above the 38.2 level, hanging out between the 50% and the 38.2 level. The bottom side, or sorry, the 38.2 level is at 91,800. Let me just get that exactly. Yeah, 91,800. So as long as Bitcoin's above there, I do look at this as like the last mega breakout of this cycle, and Bitcoin likely to trade, you know, at least towards the 50% level, which by the way is around 104,000 bucks in December. And well, this number probably does get revised higher when we get the December open, and in the 61.8 level would be 126,000 bucks. Interesting. We've seen that number come up a couple times now. On top of that, if we go over here to the spot price action HPR, not closing tonight, but closing tomorrow night, we do see a couple things. One, Bitcoin is right at the monthly median, which is 96,400. It's literally a couple bucks away from that right now. I mean, 300 bucks away from that right now. If Bitcoin does close above, it's going to be a pretty easy call for me to say, hey, Bitcoin probably retests wherever the median comes in for December, which is probably going to be a little bit lower, maybe back down around low 90s. And then upside is very, very likely from there. The top side of the 38.2 level is, guess where? That is getting very close to your 160,000 bucks. Technically speaking, this one is 158,400. So, you know, that wouldn't be a target for December. That would be kind of an area of interest, you know, over the next few months, I would say. But this would be significant because anytime that we have seen Bitcoin break above the median, we have seen it get a free ride. Well, not necessarily a free ride, but just a general float up to the top side of the 38.2 level. So that would be a relevant area of interest from the long term, at least as I look at things. Looking at Bitcoin CME on the weekly, because it's also going to be the weekly closure today. You know, as of right now, a nice clean bounce off the 78.6 level, very, very beautiful. But I don't really have too much to add on to it other than that. Just another indication that crazy historical price statistics continue to provide a lot of edge. Fucking love it, man. Anyways, moving on to the next chart here. I do want to get into a little bit more of a lower term time frame look. Again, Bitcoin on the 12-hour time frame, we called out hidden bullish divergence yesterday. Also in the daily as well here. These, I think, are still potentially playing out. That actually would imply move back up to the top side of the range. Bitcoin's very close there already, but maybe closer to 98 to 99,000 bucks. Of course, you know, if Bitcoin does come back down below yesterday's low, which was 94,700, then at that point, kind of have to be considering the likelihood, you know, or at least a higher probability of Bitcoin continuing on with a downside move first, you know, maybe retesting around this week's low, let's say 90-ish thousand bucks, you know, take out these stops right here. That'd be completely fine. But for right now, you know, I guess this is still active as long as the daily RSI is still within the bullish control zone, which it is. So I suppose that actually is a little more likely to move to the upside here than not. On top of that, I want to revisit the daily stochastic momentum trend line that we have marked off, which has been governing the lows since September and October, and again in November. You can see that these were all pretty significant lows right here, and it is now going to be meeting this regression, I guess tonight, very likely tonight, maybe tomorrow, maybe Saturday. You can see that it's right there for the projections for the next open, but where would this thing flip back onto the upside and confirm that this is still getting played out? Well, if Bitcoin closed today above 98,700, but I expect that that number, that momentum pivot will shift down when we when we see the next open for the daily. So we'll see like if that number comes down significantly tomorrow to the point where, you know, it's more likely to flip up. Again, that would be a good indication that Bitcoin's setting up for continuation from here first before anything else. But until then, I do still think that there is potential for this correction to drag on a little bit longer, probably into the first week of December, and could come down, I mean, very easily back down to the lows this week. Wouldn't really mean all that much. Again, I do refrain from looking for any significant, like super big pullback, especially below 80,000 bucks. So yeah. Anyways, we've got through that. We've gone through that. Oh, also meta signals. Just following up on this signal that they fired off. I think they give this one out freely as well in their Discord. This one fired off on Monday or Tuesday. This one basically around the lows when Bitcoin was trading at about 92-ish thousand bucks. Looks like it's hit target 1 and target 2 pretty easily right there, and maybe even goes for a target 3 as well, which would be 98,000 actually. Interesting. Low probabilities on the target 3s, to be fair. It's like in the 30s typically, but hey, you know, I suppose it's flown past 1 and 2 there, so not bad. Again, you can find these meta signals free setups in the link in the description below if you're interested. They still have their deals going on, and check in on the quantum wave bands today. Like I said, I'll continue to check in on them every day just to see. And yesterday's trade, which I made a funny remark that I don't think this one works out, which opened along right here at 95,000 bucks, actually did close positively. Again, nice little short-term scalp. This is not like a trend trading sort of strategy. It's not designed for like the big massive gains. It's designed for consistent small scalping gains over time, which does provide a nice equity curve, as you can see. And actually, let's check out the hourly as well. Hourly's been struggling a little bit more here in this consolidation. Very minimal. I mean, basically a couple washes in terms of trades, and then a nice loss over here. But before that, it's actually been doing pretty damn well. I think it's easier to see on the equity curve. Yeah, it's been straight up for like the last few months. Now actually getting a little bit of a pullback there. It's funny to see how equity curves do seem to form their own trends, similar to kind of price as well. Anyways, it's just, it appears that trends are just the ephemeral thing that links everything together. Anyways, yeah, I think that's a good place maybe leaving off. Again, preparation for December. It would appear to me that Bitcoin very likely to continue on with the all-time high party, maybe as much as 125,000 bucks. I think at least until 107 and 108. And we probably see the lows very early on within the month. So this is probably going to happen rather fast. Again, understanding that today is essentially the last day of the trading month of November, or the real trading month. And next week, we probably see the lows, and then we'll see what happens from there. All right, cool. That's it for me today. What? Elsa also has a special message. She says she is working on all of the emails that she's been getting, but she has a lot. So she is so she is asking for a little bit of patience. And she also says, "Fuck you and see you tomorrow." And I think that that's very rude, but I will say, take care, much love, and see you hopefully tomorrow.